Hello everyone, my name is Eva Daphne, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be unboxing some of the goodies that Streamplify sent me this week. I have the green screen as well. That has already been unpacked and tested a little bit on my Twitch channel while I was live. The rest of the goodies, I figured I'd save them for the video so I could unbox them and also test them to compare them to my starter streaming gear and the gear that I have now. So, if you don't know Streamplify yet, it's a new brand that has entry-level streaming gear. Which means that if you are just starting out and you want some nice upgrades but you don't want to break bank, there's a bunch of very cool products that I'm really excited to test out. So I think we are going to get started with the Streamplify camera. So this camera promises Full HD 1080p resolution at 60 frames per second. It looks very promising. As someone who used the Logitech C920 for most of my streaming career, I'm really excited to see how this compares. So let's unbox it. It comes with a tripod, but you can also put it on your monitor. Some instructions are very nice. And this is the camera. Nicely packaged to make sure it doesn't break. So one thing that stood out to me immediately, something that I personally really like, is that you can actually flip it this way as a spy filter. So as someone who used to stream with my camera angled towards my bed because I lived in a very small room, I would always, at the end of the day, turn my webcam around because I felt really awkward. Even if my laptop was turned off, I felt really awkward about something that's a camera pointing at me. So being able to just, like, at the end of the day, just go... Honestly, small detail that I personally really like. Another detail that is honestly really good to me already is the fact that you can swivel it around. So normal cameras just have one way where you can point it. This one, you can turn it all the way around. I believe you can even turn it backwards if you need to. I don't know why you would want to put it on your monitor this way, but if you have something behind your monitor that you want to show, that's the way. So I'm going to plug this in. So after some tweaking and fiddling, I am back with both cameras installed. So once again, right now filming with the Sony a6000, I installed both the Logitech and the Streamplify CAM. Yeah, so first I think I'm going to do a review of the Streamplify CAM and compare it to my Sony, which honestly surprised me. I had expected that there would be a massive difference, and I am not really mad at this. You can see that the pink is more pink of these. These colors are pretty similar, and I feel like I am still pretty similar. My hair is brighter. I'm not sure, I feel like my hair is somewhere in between these colors in real life. So that is definitely a very interesting comparison. I don't feel like, you know, obviously the professional camera has all the color corrections options in it. I do not have to change setting. I do want to say, when you get this camera, you will have to play around with some settings, and I will I took a screenshot of my settings. I might attach that here somewhere as well in the video. Because it's very important that you, based on how you look, based on all the lights you have around you, change the exposure. Let me actually get a list of everything that I did change. So I changed the exposure. Usually it's on auto exposure. Sometimes it works, oftentimes it doesn't, especially when you have constant light like I do. So I changed the exposure. I turned it down quite a bit. I turned off the low light compensation because I do have enough light. And then there's all these settings like brightness, hue, saturation, sharpness, white balance. gain, those are the settings you have to look at. So for me, it was a massive case of like kind of playing around with the saturation and the white balance to kind of get to the point where it's like, okay, you know, skin tone looks good. These colors actually are very nice. It's very good to compare with these colors of the box because you can see it is pretty close. So that personally really helped me trying to figure this out. Then, like obviously once again, professional camera. You can't really compare a 400 euro camera with a 60 euro webcam. But I am impressed with how these compare. I am massively impressed. For an end, this is once again entry level pricing. I'm just going to have it on white, which I don't think a lot of people have it on white, but I feel like it is important to note that I know a lot of people change their colors during stream. Like, what happens if you change the colors? Because if you change your colors and all of a sudden you look completely different, that doesn't work very well. So what happens if we change it to blue? What happens if we change it to green? And finally, what happens if we change it to red? So the Streamplify CAM is the best at being consistent with the colors. And we have a little guest appearance. Hi! I personally feel like the Streamplify CAM is the best at being consistent with the colors. I genuinely feel it feels a little bit sharper as well. My hair is a very good point to see like where it goes. It looks much brighter in both cameras, which I think is interesting, but for me it's more important that my skin looks normal. My skin doesn't look overly red. And I feel like it really does a good job of maintaining a normal skin tone. So I have a little spot here, nothing to be ashamed of. You see it a little bit, but overall I feel like just like with the it does a very nice job of evening out my skin color as well, my skin tone. Right, before I forget, I want to show one very quick thing, which is what it looks like with daylight. Now obviously neither of these look very good, so it's time to change some of these settings. Let's start with the Streamplify CAM. The main thing that we have to do now is just turn down the exposure. I'm thinking I'm going for -7. So apart from that, I think this person looks really decent. This is pure natural light. I turned off my my key light. There's some sunshine right here, which does cause some trouble with it, but I feel like it looks really decent. And the final thing that I wanted to do is just close my curtains again and see what it looks like with low light. How good can it get when you don't have a lot of light in your room? So I'm going to very quickly do that. I'll be right back. So, very obviously, you can barely see anything right now. So I'm going to open the Streamplify CAM and configure video, and I'm just going to up the exposure, see if it can look any good. I do feel like there's a bit of more of a delay here. So I'm now having it to, this is now exposure 3. Now you can see the higher the exposure, the more lag. So we're going to turn that back down. So 4 is about as far as I dare to go. I do not want to go any higher than that. And I think I'm gonna see if I can do the same thing with the webcam, with a Logitech C920, which is already... Oh, it's a massive delay right now because I have to turn it up all the way to -2, which obviously doesn't work. So if I set it to automatic, if it's a low light, I would recommend setting it to automatic for the Logitech C920. Obviously everything's very pink right now because pink is the only light that's coming from my room. However, I'm pretty impressed with how good this looks. This definitely doesn't look bad. It's obviously, please do get good lights. Even if it's just a small ring light, which I'll be unboxing soon. Good lights are so important because you can see the difference. Now I do wonder what happens if I turn on automatic exposure for the Streamplify CAM. Now that's a lot brighter, but I don't think that's better. I don't think that's better. I think it's better to just leave it manually. 9 out of 10 times I would recommend manual exposure, except apparently in the case of the Logitech. If you're very, very low light and you do manual exposure, you get a lot of lag because the exposure is massively high. So that is the only thing that I would say keep in mind. So I'm going to turn the lights back on. It's probably going to go very bright for a second. Once again, this is such a personal thing that you can't actually just tell someone, hey, your exposure needs to be -5 because that depends on your lights, that depends on so many things. So lastly, I do want to show how this looks full screen. I just tweaked some more settings because I felt like it was a little bit too bright, and you can't really expect a webcam to capture the same range of colors as a professional camera. So I felt like I was focusing too much on this orange and not as much on how I looked. And now I feel like I actually, when I actually made it full screen, I realized I was just like flipping back and forth between the Sony and the Streamplify CAM, and I realized, oh, actually, I look quite orange. So I figured I would change that real quick and actually redo this thing where I would go full screen. And I feel like there's not a massive difference. The Streamplify CAM is currently a little bit tilted because I literally propped it onto my camera. So I will be like wiggling a little bit. But this is what it looks like. Like straight up comparison. I think that looks great. I think the comparison is very, very decent. So this is with a bunch of changed settings. So I did just change some settings just so it's a little bit less saturated. Obviously, that orange will be a little bit duller, but once again, you can't expect the camera to have me as like a normal human being and then have this bright orange. I kind of had to make a choice, but honestly, it's not even that different. I do feel like this orange is definitely, it's somewhere in between. It's somewhere in between. So it's definitely a very, very good comparison. Once again, I will probably be changing some more settings as I set this up differently. There is a lot of settings that you can actually change. So I would recommend just having a look yourself. And it's such a good quality camera, especially for the money. So do keep that in mind. Once again, Streamplify, thank you so much for sending over these products. I really appreciate it. Not paid, not sponsored. Just want to test these out and give an honest review. So I really appreciate if you'd leave a like or a comment or both. And let me know what you think, if you want me to do more of these in the future, or if you want what you want to see on this YouTube channel. I have some gameplay plans in the future as well. So really excited for those also. Please subscribe. Take care. Stay awesome. Bye.